Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again on yet another episode on Info Synthesis. I am Osondumbono. With me, as always, is Mr. Nnnamdi Elekwachi.
Thank you for having me, Osondo. It's nice to be here. Viewers, you are welcome.
You're welcome, Mr. Nnnamdi.
Thank you.
You, of course, are fully aware of the airport furor that's been going on for quite some days now, and the conversation around it, and of course the culture of torture by security agencies in the country. Is it that we have yet to really get it right as a people when it comes to civilly handling issues at or on a human level, or that there's something wrong with the African mind, that we are yet to come out of this militarized colonial mentality?
Okay, thank you so much. I will take it one after the other. Whether we have yet to propagate procedural processes of arresting people in a civil manner is one thing. Then operational conduct is also another thing. Then the culture of torture, which we are also looking into, is also another thing. But look at it this way, and you did mention about something. Okay, you mentioned colonialism. The problem we have is rooted in many factors, not just one. But colonialism is the beginning of the whole thing.
Is the beginning.
Because the policing standard, the traditional policing standard, whether you're looking at 8th grade or any other traditional group that existed anywhere in Africa, was about what people to people or pro-people approach. Even though discipline was enforced, maybe punishment was actually dished out or served. But the coming of the white man bettered the us and them mentality.
Us and them mentality.
Us and them mentality.
Right.
You had the Hausa Constabulary, founded in the 1860s, were mostly freed slaves by the white man, giving a new orientation on how to go about what? Securing the sphere of influence under Britain, Northern Nigeria, or the area you know as Northern Nigeria. They existed. What was the operational code or the conduct? You will see that in times past, during colonialism, the way the white man's police tortured his brothers registered. It was a culture that was given to our police, our military, and the other security agencies, which they carried with them to independence. Later, military rule became a culture in Africa. So when military rule happened, that very culture that was embedded or rooted in colonialism more than quadrupled. It was evident in the way of government, in the way, in governance. It was evident in the way they treated the populace. It was also evident in the way they churned out decrees. It was evident in all of them. When it comes to relationship with them, trying to execute arrests, it's always been about culture of torture. Arrest means bringing someone into lawful custody.
That's right.
I frame the point now. Arrest does not mean beat someone up, brutalize them, abuse them, violate their rights, or even trample upon their rights. It simply means bring someone into lawful custody, and the person to be arrested must also submit themselves. The only situation that may actually warrant use of force is when someone is trying to resist, or when someone is trying to overpower, or perhaps disarm law enforcement agents. That's when you can actually use force. And force should also not even be the first option. But in the context of Nigeria, it is usually the first option. Now you see that it has now actually permeated the security landscape, where security service providers, agents, whether paramilitary as you have them in the airport, now approach the same method. Arrest has never been about civilly bringing someone into lawful custody. It's been about what? Torture. And that was what happened at the airport we saw. Although we still have issues, you see that when it has to do with people, the VIPs, there is this kind of treatment we give to them, different from what was meted out to, or what was given to someone like Comfort, or someone like the core member derobed by the so-called personnel or men of the Operation Udogache in Anambra State. I find the point now, because we remember, and I will take you back to 2022. There was an incident when Emir of Kano missed an Air Peace flight. We all saw the threat, even to the fact that the Emirates will now boycott Air Peace, and the owner of the CEO of Air Peace, and then the entire management were told to issue apology in national dailies. Because
somebody missing it.
Yes, someone, perhaps when you look at the whole matter, a version of the story went that the flight was already taxiing or something like that, and that boarding has actually been completed or something like that. I actually the point, and then that's feeling in Nigerian balance. There is that question: do you know who I am? I find the point. Now we come to the case of Palm One. Marshall, the musician, the Fuji artist,
exponent,
someone who disrupted movement of an aircraft, someone who interfered with an aircraft. If you expand that activity or that action, it's tantamount to terrorism.
Absolutely,
it's tantamount to hostage taking. It's tantamount to hijack. Nearly, if you look at it. And the laws of aviation are not just the laws of Nigeria; they are mostly international laws. In International Civil Aviation Authority, organization ICAO, ICAO, or in even the reason you have NCA in Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is to help domesticate these laws, because airports are just the same, virtually everywhere. I find the point. And there is, in fact, the time people use the Dempster line, shipping line to travel, it's no longer today. So people, the easiest way international travel happens is the air route, which is also part of your territorial space. So I think the culture of arrest in Nigeria has actually been, in fact, from the get-go, even before independence, it's been brutal. I find the point. Then, treatment given to people could actually vary depending on where they fall within in the society, or in the cadre, or let me say in the classes we have. We've seen the situation where, in fact, I have seen the situation where even at airports, founders of religious groups are being given preferential treatment. I find the point, but the question should be, what does the ordinary Nigerian get? So in everything, what I'm saying here is simple, that what we saw in Anambra State, what we harvested from that video, or from the incident of Comfort Emerson, of course, who was unruly and unmanageable to an extent, what we saw was not just about right violation. Of course, it is what it is, but not just solely about right violation. It's not solely about dehumanization. It's not solely about the inhuman treatment. It has to do with the mentality and orientation of the enforcers of arrest. Do they bring people into lawful custody, or do they subject them to harassment, torture, victimization, physical abuse, sometimes use of naked power? That's the question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Nnamdi. I'm also glad you've been able to actually mention the assault on the core member in Anambra State.
Yes.
You've also been able to draw inferences with what happened, how one was treated, and what was meted out to Comfort Emerson,
including Oshomole, a senator.
Absolutely.
Who was alleged. In fact, the release from the AP said he barricaded.
That's right.
The airport, and then nothing was done to him.
Yeah. So, but do you also feel that there is a fundamental flaw when it comes to implementation of regulations by the authorities, be it security agencies and any other ancillary agency around them. For instance, when Kwan was seen to be, brandishing or holding a container, was he actually supposed to have been allowed to, walk through the departure hall and now to be accosted on the tarmac? Was that actually appropriate?
No.
Didn't he pass through people who were supposed to vet him? Again, was it also right for Emerson to be detained singularly, still right there, in the cabin? I think the right move should have been, once the airport taxis to a stop or to a halt, right? Every other passenger, right there on the airline are supposed to be there, detained for whatever reasons, until whoever is suspected is moved out. Or in worst case scenario, when everybody finally, alights from the airport, from the airline, as they are approaching arrival, then of course whoever is being suspected, because I'm still remembering what happened after post September 11, in the US. You see how people were handled, how suspects or people who were seen to be suspicious, were also handled. So don't think there was a fundamental flaw in the implementation of regulation that finally led to these altercations.
Yes, there are.
At the airport.
Yes, one. You look at the case of one. I have been privileged to use the same Nnamdi Elekwachi airport for travel, and I know that there you are told. In fact, you don't even go with your perfume. I'm saying perfume.
That's right.
Body spray. You are not allowed to use such things, such items. You are not allowed to use things like, in fact, to carry things like pressing iron or even boiler. Those things are actually recovered from you, and someone close to you come and take them, or they are marked or tagged. Upon your return, you go tagged, yes. you go and take them. The reason is because of modern day terrorism. I find the point. Someone can actually divert a flight with weapons, or can actually assume control the cabin or access the airport, or begins to behave anyhow. I find the point. So to bring about control, in fact, most aircraft, I don't know for others, I'm not sure they still smoke again while on board.
Yeah.
I follow the point. So these are regulatory. But the problem we have in Nigeria is because we have preferential treatment given to people.
Okay.
I find the point. I do not see any justification whatsoever for someone like someone to carry that, although we have been told about water dehydration and what have you.
But there'll be water that'll be served on cabin.
Although we also I was coming to that, and then again, don't even for read this too. From the pilot end, it was alcoholic beverage or content.
Sure.
I feel the point. So why the federal government was too quick to sweep everything under the carpet, we may not know what actually transpired. Was it an alcoholic content or water per se? If it was water, I do not know if there is any difference between the water you are going to be served there. Of course, it's going to be bottled or treated water, and then the one you have beer. I feel the point. Now he passed through the checks. In fact, you have a lot of checks. Right. You even have travel letter that will take you up. This one they call known in American parlance, it's known as incline elevator.
Yeah.
Will take you escalator, incline elevator, or travel letter will take you up to the departure lounge. Then you stay there. Flight arrival is announced, and you get ready to board. And then imagine up to the tarmac. People are checked there at the departure. You are checked when you are trying to access them. Then you are checked at the departure when you are leaving. Then he carried this thing up to the. We are now seeing it at the tarmac. You see the problem we have. So that goes to do it. The authorities also have questions to answer. That's number one. Then coming to the case of Emerson, I don't know, but I think if Emerson was unruly, because we've seen a barrister, co-passenger, who attested, or in fact, who appeared on a television program, detailing everything. And from what he said, Emerson did not pose any threat to co-passengers. It was just about switch off your telephone. The young lady said it was on a flight mode. Yeah. Said switch off your telephone. which is not wrong. In most cases, we are learning that networks or signals could jam. Don't forget, aircraft does a lot with an aircraft if it has a lot to do with signals and communication. Signals and communication. So it was about switch off your phone. And
but if the phone
then
is on flight mode,
the lady said,
it poses no threat.
no, I'm coming. There is this. There's a revelation now. They are saying that phones that have a 5G network could also be problem, or
it's unfounded.
Be problematic
It's
for
unfounded.
small aircraft, like Abom Air. They don't use
Wi-Fi.
No, they don't use some of these Boeing, and then or they just but the truth remains in some cases too. Some airline operators, in fact, some airlines will not even assist you with Wi-Fi. It depends on where you are.
The reason why the phone has a flight mode.
So I wouldn't know what I actually transpired, but we heard that there was altercation. But according to AMM and herself, the lady said, I will deal with you. As I showed the point. But then that it now comes back again to the culture of arrest, which is also culture of torture and impunity in the Nigerian balance.
Yeah.
Comfort did not wrestle. She did not fight. Why the flight was on air.
Yeah.
She didn't fight. She didn't cause problem.
Yeah.
Now, when the aircraft landed, I think the best would have been announcement from the cockpit telling all passengers to remain calm. You don't even need to tell them why they should be calm. Because people there are usually well behaved. Although you can actually have one or two instances where people actually try to become unruly or unmanageable or even breach the peace. But the truth remains that when that announcement is made, they will assume it is for their safety or it is in their interest. Say, please remain. 10 minutes, we are on something. We have landed. That was what I think was missing. But I'm not here to prescribe or to even profile guidelines or to say this is how. But I think the manner of that arrest was not proper.
Thank you.
One.
Thank you.
I'm also against Comfort's inability to exercise restraint and then exhibit some reasonableess, because it's just about how you manage yourself in the face of provocation.
Yeah, sorry to cut you short.
Or under pressure.
Do you feel that if they had sent an officer who understands how to de-escalate, situations, do you think that probably would have had a different outcome?
Yes, because not all the security agents, not all of them are violent or will actually abuse the procedure of arrest.
Sure.
Some of them can actually take you into lawful custody in a very safe manner. I find the point, but we are looking at the arrest culture or the culture of torture. Now, if at all professionalism had been adopted, we wouldn't have this escalation.
Okay.
Even perhaps, who knows, the case would have gone against the lady Comfort. I feel the point.
Exactly.
But what Nigerians were now talking about was that impunity of derobing someone. And we started hearing about not covering their body or whatever. But from the videos I saw, this lady wore...
She was covered.
Yes, she wore a jacket.
Exactly.
Wore something else inside.
Exactly.
I don't know what level, whether they want him to... Whether they wanted her to wear bulletproof.
Yes. No.
I wouldn't know whether she should have worn bulletproof or any other thing. So she wore what she wore. And then in the course of bringing her or arresting her or taking her into the full custody, someone, a hand, tore
her blouses,
her top wear, and her body was exposed in the process and then circulating everywhere. I feel that's abuse, that's violation, that's dehumanization, that's also degrading someone. In fact, you are treating someone as if they are not human, and I think it's condemnable. So when you look at it, you see that those who were even, in fact, they use force to get her down the boarding ramp.
She could have.
They use force. In fact, in the case of arrest, the wig she was having
came off,
fell off, or was forcefully removed. I feel the point. Her phones and then everything. So to me, I think that behavior or that procedure of executing arrest or that execution of arrest was too bad, and then uncalled for. Now we see the case of the core member.
Yes, I was going there actually very quickly. The core member. What on earth could have made a human being, a Nigerian, understanding the contributions of core members to the Nigerian social, economic growth? What on earth could make an individual want to assault a core member to the extent of, pulling off her clothes?
You see, the whole thing is still, like I said before, from colonialism to independence to military rule to civil rule, is been about the same culture. It's been about, this is a hangover thing. You're looking at it. Colonial hangover, it became military rule hangover. Just like that.
So, for the benefit of our audience, who are these Udogachi people? Who are they really?
Okay, now this is even where it gets interesting. Udogachi is a security unit created by Soludo, by state law that was passed sometime in 2025.
Okay.
I think from one release I read, they said it's a combined contingent or combined joint force. Like you have military, you have you have police, and then other. But it also has a contingent, or let me say, a branch of vigilantes.
Okay.
I find the point. So it is combined network.
So it's not a ragtag army.
No. So now this is even where it gets down. No matter what you are doing, then I looked at the agents and then the caliber of weapons they carried. I don't think they were related to, if they were the police or the military. I think they may be vigilantes.
Okay.
I found the point because I looked at the caliber of weapons they were carrying, because we know the police, we know the military, we know who carries AK-47, we know who carries which rifle, which semi-automatic rifle or not. Now we saw the kind of weapons they had. I found the point, but something was lacking: proper training. I found the point: proper training, and then understanding of the context of citizenship. Who is a citizen? Who is a Nigerian? And how is a Nigerian to be treated? Now, if something like this happens to us outside, you now begin to see opinions. But how are we treating Nigerians, even on our soil? I found the point. I have heard different versions of stories. I have harvested a lot of things I have read. First, it was about operation, a sting operation targeted at what they call Yahoo. But you could be asking yourself, is Operation Udogachi, is their operational guidelines or their code or their operation, does it have to do with internet fraudsters? They now say, no, they were looking for cultists, which could also be related to their mandates. Now, where it gets interesting is to understand the mandates of Udogachi. Now, if it was about looking for a sting operation to get arrested or some suspected internet fraudsters, it's a different thing. Is it their duty? Because we have law enforcement agents that are actually assigned with that responsibility. I follow the point. Now, if it's about arresting cultism, we know that some activities related to cultism can actually breach the peace or even bring about insecurity. That is fine. But at what point do you begin to even meet out or even exhibit torture in the first place? Is torture even allowed? One, we have to understand that a suspect is not yet a criminal.
Absolutely.
That is where it starts. In the Nigerian context, tell police that this person is a suspect, they start beating the person up. They start humiliating. They start torturing. In most cases, though not in all cases. Because we have yet to understand that suspect is someone you are suspecting of a crime. Even a convicted criminal still have a right.
Sure.
Which you must also safeguard and protect. In the Nigerian context, a suspect is already a criminal. Now, see how they entered the building, and then from what I gathered, the lady was the one to open the door, and it ended in assault, battering, intentionally, willfully stripping someone, stripping her. I following the point. And then it was unprofessional. It was anti-right. It was not. In fact, it is inhuman. And I believe that whatever be the case, justice should be served. This happened July 23. From what we are hearing, the investigation is still going on. Going on for how long?
For how long? For almost a month now.
The people who did this thing, they said they were brought. They are still in custody. Can we get to know more about them? What really happened? And then why will it be that in trying to, like I said before, enforce arrest, which should be about discipline, you now go overboard? It's condemnable.
It is condemnable.
It is condemnable, for whatever reason. Now they are telling us about, from Yahoo, we are hearing about, courtism. Are you following the point? But I have this to say. It is wrong for a uniformed person, even if we are to talk about the preference, in terms of preferences, an NYSC core member should be given preference above a vigilante. I find the point now, because these are people who are serving the nation 1 year to bring about integration and national unity. They perform or they carry out community services and a lot of engagement. In those days, core members were seen as government picking, as they call them.
Yeah.
I find the point. In fact, there used to be that esprit de corps between core members and uniformed personnel, because the military, NYS, the military, the police, the civil defense, they will all drill you while at orientation camp. I find the point. So I do not understand that operation. One, what motivated it? Then two, the manner, the torture that lady was subjected to. What actually prepared that? Did she offend them? Was she offensive? From the video we've seen, this is a vulnerable person. And I'm also expecting women's groups to also begin to lend voice, or to begin to talk about this too. This must not go, or must not be swept under the carpet.
Under the carpet.
Yes.
Absolutely, it doesn't have to be swept under the carpet. And away from that a little, though somehow a little related, is also, I want to find out again, this mentality, I think it's actually eaten deep into the fabrics of the Nigerian consciousness. That sometimes I think we even see political jobbers and the government officials, speak in a manner that is totally uncut, unprofessional, and unacceptable. I think one of the recent incidents is the one that happened in Abia State, where a government chief secretary, used the word lunatic. On one begin to wonder exactly who are the lunatics. Is it taxpayers? Are lunatics here, or the opposition figures? Where questions were asked regarding the government expenditure on building or retrofitting schools in Abia State. So is it actually now outrightly wrong for citizens of a state to question how the state's commonwealth is expanded? Of course, when it has to do with real or actual infrastructure that is purportedly said to being reconstructed or renovated. The case I'm talking about here is the case in Abia State, where questions have been asked regarding the government issuing of statements and publications that they spent to the tune of, I think, 54 billion naira in reconstructing and retrofitting schools across the 17 local governments in Abia State. So where does the right of citizens stop in asking questions, and where is the boundary of government officials in responding in any manner that they feel that is right?
Okay, let me say this. The right to ask questions is boundless.
Okay, it's boundless. Thank you.
The right to ask questions is boundless. It's just like you have a lecturer in the classroom. Students are supposed to ask questions, and when they ask question, the lecturer will either return the question to them, or even ask them another question, or even be dismissive. Government is all about accountability, and democracy thrives through dialogue. You can't wish it away. And dialogue here means criticism, acceptance, praise. They are part of this dialogue.
Yeah, true.
And one would expect that in handling some certain aspect of government official communications, professionalism is adopted. We talked about here the other day how the political communications of the governor was actually served during constitutional reform hearing gathering, where the issue of state creation and non-state creation, then a governor may actually make mistake in terms of articulation of views. The reason why he has professionals is to do what? Correct where there are errors. What the intention of the speech, though not actually trying to portray, but may be read to mean. That's by the way. Now, we are talking about Commonwealth, and this is the budget of 2024. This issue didn't start today. In fact, it's been there since last year. People have been talking about it. 54 billion naira spent on retrofitting. You know, that's the word now.
The buzzword,
retrofitting schools across the 17 LGAs. And then to answer that question, I think the government, the government handlers did not behave under with a particular reference to the chief press secretary of Abia State. The word lunatics to me, and he failed to categorically say this, even if they are your opposition elements, I don't know how the word lunatics would actually be fit for conversation about fiscal policies, for conversation about appropriation, for conversation about people are just demanding fiscal responsibility, fiscal prudence, which Governor Alex Oti has actually advocated, said, I'll make sure that none of all your kobo, and I'm trying to quote him, count. Then someone is asking question, and I know that we saw the video when Governor Alex Oti was asked that question. Are you following the point? The way and manner he answered the question, and then again people said he was trying to be dismissive. I feel the point. Then later, government position came that of the 54 billion so far, they had actually spent 14.48 billion. No longer the entire money. And that everything could be seen in Abia State's portal, especially if you talk about audited account. But I have something to say. Abia State has yet to enact the Freedom of Information Act. And this is where it even gets interesting. I think citizens should have access to information. Because we are beginning to see, we are in a media war in this state. In Abia State, there is a media war going on now. Many media houses seem to have been actually recruited or on the side of the opposition or on the side of other voices. And then we also have those who appear to be on the side of the government. Media war. Sometimes it's about sensationalism. Sometimes it's also about being constructive. Sometimes it's also about being biased. Are you feeling the point? But you must also call a spade a spade. The outing of certain government officials does not reflect what we believe, what someone like me was thinking will obtain in the government of Alex Oti, especially that issue of lunatics. Abians are taxpayers. Abians are law-abiding. Abians are humans.
You see, Nnamdi, we must not, of course, fail to commend the governor of Abia State for the wonderful work he's doing. It's very important
in the area of infrastructure.
Exactly, he's been doing wonderfully well. One cannot but mention that he has not only given Abia State a facelift, he has also given Abia State a new trajectory towards development and growth. One really have to say that. But I think where Abians and of course Nigerians who are at the moment are really excited with what he's doing in Abia State will want more openness, should be in the area of accountability. And what necessitated this whole media war, like you just rightly mentioned, was the I think the approach in giving clear explanation of what was meant by the last year's appropriation, for building schools.
Yes.
You must not forget that it was clearly stipulated that this money has already been expanded. I'm talking about as of last year, which of course has raised this concern. Last year, people were asking the question: if you have already expended 54 billion naira in retrofitting and reconstructing schools, where are these schools?
That's the
people who ask the question. I think that's the question that has been asked today.
Even 14 billion, even if it was even if it was with an amount of money less than 54 billion naira,
no,
we still retain the right. We still reserve the right to ask where are the schools, because schools are not just about the governor. Now there is an attempt to employ 5,300 teachers.
Okay.
With further recruitment of 4,000. That's about 9,300 teachers are going to be employed in Niger State. Where are they going to teach? If all these schools are not, like they will say, retrofitted or revamped, where are they going to teach? Because virtually over half, and I'm being conservative here, of government schools are dilapidated, run down. I find the point now. Over half, whether secondary school, whether primary, go to your alma mater. I know you must have passed through government school. Go to your alma mater, you weep. My own alma mater, Igbo National, I weep. Even at the present condition today, even though the government has said they will do something, the condition of that school today, a model school built by Igbo State Union, contributed money to build National High School, that to serve the educational purposes and needs of Igbo. It was called Igbo National. They contributed their pounds from the sales of their palm oil, from the sales of their agricultural produce to build that school. So it's not about Governor Alex Woti, because we've had successive governments, even military, that actually allowed this decay, this rot to happen. But the fact remains, if you say I spent this amount of money, because remember vividly the issue of flyover. When a past governor asked the question whether flyover was our business, it trended. So now public schools are our business.
Sure.
I find it, because if we get public schools right now, see what Imo State is doing. Edo State is doing the same thing. They are stopping this madness called graduation.
Even Imo State too.
Imo State began, Edo State has adopted, and my state even Sokoto we need policies. We need policies. I follow the point. Now, if at all we are desirous of, because Governor Alan says he claims to be investing double digits, I think up to 20% of the budget in education. It must be seen. It must not be on paper. It must be seen. And I believe that the names of those, because the problem we have here is that others are not being carried along. Freedom of information has not been enacted here. We don't have any law. The Abia State law, freedom of information. What we have is a court proclamation saying that freedom of information is applicable everywhere. That's why when you raise an FOI request, ministries will continue having back and forth. But let me say this: in the interest of the public, government should be reporting whatever it does. I believe they are reporting, but the question you should be asking: how many Abians can I access the internet? I'm talking about reporting using different media platforms.
That's right.
Like the Abia State House of Assembly, I have yet to listen to their session on radio. It should not be like that. Why then do you have BCA? Why then do you have other private radio stations? We should be hearing their businesses or whatever they are discussing. We should, there should be, because if it continues like this, it simply means all of us should go to Omahia. Representation means the power given to someone to represent you, even though it is representing people.
Sure.
That's the point. So, to me, if the whole thing as it cascaded, and when we started seeing media war and then exchanges and then even interferences with private sector and then all of that. So to me, I think others must continue asking this question, and let us stop this thing. It is important. Governor Oti is not infallible. Some of his policies could be flawed. He has made some mistakes and he realized and he corrected them. He's a human.
Sure.
I read the point. Even Simon Bagwe, when he was there, he made some mistakes. Even if you talk about they made some mistakes.
Sure.
It's also part of learning, part of your learning curve or your growth curve. So the assumption that Governor Alex should not be criticized constructively It's wrong. Government in Britain, they call it shadow government. Do you know what it means? Opposition.
Opposition, that's right.
Because the shadow minister is the one watching the real minister. When the cabinet minister does something wrong, the shadow minister voices it. It becomes part of policy, and they harvest it to build robust system. I feel because there is this assumption, especially on the part of some individuals, that the governor is working and therefore should not be criticized. No, criticism is the beauty of democracy.
Sure.
Democracy is about pluralism. It's not about people agreeing. It's about people disagreeing, agreeing, views converging, views diverging.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you for that take again. But again, do you think that something needs to be done with the governor's media team? I'm talking about the Governor Alex Otti. You know, we all want him to succeed. We're all rooting for him. But I think if there's something we need to contribute to seeing that he succeeds, I think that will not be out of place. Recently, we just heard that Abia State acquired Star Paper Mills recently. And very observant citizens would want to know the details. Okay, how Abia State was able to liquidate whatever interest that ANCOM had. And then we also had the governor said after it's been retrofitted, it will be handed over to private, managers who will take care of it. So I don't think that ideas also have a right to get to know the details of this transaction, because this is about Abia State, money.
Yes, recently the Commissioner for Information was saying something about government will no longer sit back and watch people derail or cause reputational harm or damage to government of Alex Otti. We were asking, could it be coming from laws? Are they contemplating maybe enacting laws that will actually give them rights to, or give them powers, not even rights, to go after
dissenting
voices, and then including that may actually be repressive or even go against freedom of the press? But we are waiting. What I said then was that, Mr. Commissioner, you have to talk about enacting Freedom of Information Act in Abia State. Let Abians have access. See, the reason why people are relying on, in most cases, opposition, in most cases, some broadcasts or some media houses, could be because of what? Gap in information dissemination. If someone like me is looking for information in the Abia State Ministry of Information, will that information be made available to me? It should be the question. Number one. Then number two, I think the people who are managing the communication of Governor Alex Otti, they need to do better. Whether the one of the SA or SSA that were talking about a private media house, it was not an official statement. It was not signed by him. It was not approved by the governor. I don't know. But his person saying that through the same platform, he disseminates information coming from government was totally wrong and was condemned by those who saw it fit to condemn it, because it was about what? Trying to meddle. I feel the point, and then all of that. Then let us bring it back to the word lunatics. Someone is paid with taxpayers' money. Your office is being maintained by taxpayers' money. Even your principal is being paid by taxpayers. And then others are asking questions. What you ought to do, what you should have done, is to give a detailed analysis of the whole thing, breakdown analysis of the whole spendings. This was how we spent this. This was how we did this. This was how we did this, and people will get to know. Now you now say lunatics are looking for their 54 billion naira. 54 billion naira does not belong to opposition. It belongs to Abia. Therefore, that man called Abians lunatics.
That's right.
He said lunatics are looking for their 54. For clarity's sake, he didn't say opposition. He said lunatics. So even when people say, by implication, he called Abians lunatics. Because not only opposition, I'm interested in the 54 billion naira story. I want to hear the last of it. Are you feeling the point? Am I a member of the opposition? No. So it was unprofessional for him to have used that word, lunatics. That's number one. Then number two, the meddlesomeness. Some people should also understand their position and behave accordingly. When you have a position that actually elevates you in the society, there are things you don't get yourself entangled. In fact, there are things you don't even come to associate with. That's number one. Then number two, management of communications of Governor Alex Oti. I wouldn't say it has been rosy or it has been powerful. Of course, not all managers of communication do better, including we've had presidencies in this country where you see a lot of gaps in management of information or management of communication. Let me bring it down here. When a governor articulates his views and you are writing them down, after writing them down, you go through them. You have to look at areas that may cause problem. And then, because you are advisor, unless your principal is someone who is obstinate, who doesn't even heed your advice or your counsels or your advice, you can actually say, Your Excellency, this will cause problem. I find the point. When the intervention about not wanting more states to be created was made in a gathering of the Southeast, where you have two states of Imo and Abi, people interpreted it to mean that the governor was against creation of other states. Politics began. The politics played out in media houses. I feel the point. We now have in Abia State a serious media war. We have pro-government media houses. We have anti-government media houses. Let's say the truth.
Sure.
I feel the point, and it is hitting up the polity to the extent that even government may be losing some of its some perception the people may have about it, and that's why I'm saying Abia needs to enact the Freedom of Information Act. Then you look at these three laws now. Public Procurement Act, which we have a law on, needs to be expanded to cover Abia reality. Then Fiscal Responsibility Act. What is the state getting? What is the local government getting? All these things need to be harmonized and streamlined so that every couple. The other day I was hearing about marketers, traders, wanting saying the election should not hold. I feel the point now, and then people we are not asking who is in control of the market, local government or the state. So democracy thrives when we follow the principles of democracy, and these things are just simple. So I think back to what I was saying, the people who are managing the communications of Governor Alex Oti, they can do better and they need to do better. For now, I wouldn't give them total pass mark. I follow the point, because I believe that what you have to respond with this opposition, or including curious Abians, with just detailed and constructive responses. It's not about antagonism. Anybody who talks, you say is opposition, or you begin to call them PDP or whatever name. It's not like that. When people ask questions, engage them meaningfully, and they learn from you. But perhaps you could even convert them. I find the point. Everything is not about war. Everything is not about us and them. It's about government.
Our government, yeah.
We own the government that owns you. It's simple. We are the owner of Governor Alex Oti. We are the owners of Governor Alex Oti, who is your principal, which means you are a servant to our servant.
Sure.
You are a servant of our servant.
Servant to our servant.
Servant to our servant. In any case, you are servant to our servant. Even if you think you are beholden to Governor Alex Oti or you are answerable to him, he is answerable to us. And by the time his administration would have elapsed, we will not be talking about you. We will be talking about your principal.
Absolutely.
Nobody remembers the communication managers of Otto Sokalo or his essay, or nobody remembers them. It is these principles, and that's what Governor Oti must actually look into. Management of political communications need to get better in Abia State. That is when you do it well, have freedom of information, Abians will know where to access information. Why will an Abian not have information from government source and be relying on opposition to talk about 54 billion naira? Except now that the whole thing has heated up and we are hearing about go to audited account, do this and all of that. And we are saying something as simple as making it press statement, making it be in the news, making it be in public domain. That's just the thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nnnamdi Elekwachi. Your final words on the culture of torture in the country.
I think we need to do better. In 1999, when Nigeria returned to democracy, Obasanjo made an appointment that actually struck. What was that? Jamie Bowen a retired military person that was made, I think, the Minister of Police Affairs. That militarized a police, that because the police is to be a civil
that's right, branch of the agency.
Let the military be military, but the police at least, because they are dealing with us day to day, and we need new orientation, we need training, we need retraining, we need to support, equip, and fund security service agencies. But the truth remains that culture of torture must stop, because you do not torture after which you now find out that the person is innocent.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Mr. Nnamdi Elekwachi. The culture of torture must stop, because it will really be really awful when you later find out that the person you have tortured is actually innocent. I would want to see your comments and responses regarding this topic that we just had. It remains InfoSynthesis here. I am Osando Mbono. See you in the next episode.